Brooklyn, just across the river but a world away. Filled to the brim with every kind of shop and restaurant you could possibly imagine, Brooklyn is one of the most popular and the most populated of the 5 New York City boroughs. Thanks to the world-famous Brooklyn Bridge, this outer borough gained an easy connection to Manhattan in 1883, and it officially became part of New York City in 1898. It's no secret that Brooklyn is filled with wonderful places, parks, museums, world-class cultural centers, beautiful neighborhoods, and a bustling but not overwhelming lifestyle that is attracting more and more residents daily. Brooklyn is known for its diverse and culturally rich ethnic makeup. In fact, its city motto is "Unity makes strength." From the cobblestone streets of Brooklyn Heights to the hipsters of Williamsburg, from BAM to the Botanic Gardens, from Bay Ridge to the Barclays Center, Brooklyn truly has something for everyone. So we thought we would take the leap, or rather the subway train under the river, and look at some cool, fun, uniquely Brooklyn places that make Brooklyn the amazing place it is.
Okay, I get it. I never leave Manhattan. Well, today we are doing an entire episode chock full of things to do in Brooklyn. I am in the Park Slope district of Brooklyn right now, and we are going to show you all sorts of things to do in this outer borough. First up is a super cool cinema called Nighthawk Cinemas in Williamsburg. So take a look at this. Okay, viewers, you are never going to guess where I am today. I'm at one of the most amazing places in Williamsburg, a movie theater called Nighthawk Cinemas, but it defies description, so I am going to let the founder of Nighthawk Cinema, Matthew Vera, tell us all about it. Thank you so much for having us in today.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us how this all began and what was the impetus to open such a super cool place?
Well, obviously I'm a film fan. I realized that, especially for a city like New York, the movie-going experience really was stale and sort of outdated and archaic. And we started looking at how to infuse food and drinks, maybe inspired by films, and start getting creative that way. So we do have a full restaurant kitchen here, and we do full food and drink service in all 3 of our theaters. So that's the most interesting part of the whole operation. We mostly play independent films and skew a little larger films as well, first run.
I have to say, I was completely skeptical of the experience when someone was telling me about it. I'm like, we're gonna eat in the movie? I was like, oh my God, they have to serve it, and then all these people are gonna eat. But it's like, and this is a credit to you and your staff and the people who work here.
Yeah.
It is so unbelievably seamless, and
it's very discreet.
It is.
Yeah, we seat the theaters 30 minutes before your showtime, so you're able to get in there, get settled. We actually curate a pre-show. Our cinema department gets inspired by the feature that you're gonna see, so they pull all these clips and mash them up into sort of video art. During that time, servers will come around and take your food and drink orders, and so by the time the lights go down, you have your meal, you have your cocktail in hand, and you're ready for the feature film.
Do you ever feel the pressure? Do you get pressure from people to show more arty films?
We try to stay true to ourselves, and that has not led us astray at all. I think our philosophy is we don't like in-the-middle movies. We like really bad movies and really good movies.
Oh, I've got some for you.
Yeah.
When I see the program for Nighthawks, I love what you guys are showing. In terms of your brand, what is it at the core that you hope people will take away?
From the moment you walk in the door, you're greeted by a bartender. You go through to the theaters, and they're pretty intimate theaters. They're 92 seats, 60 and 28, and you're greeted by a server there. We try to provide a more intimate experience than you would get at your normal movie theater, a more personal experience, and then we curate it from the pre-show to the films we pick to the food that we put on the menu, and have a really selective approach to that.
It's not just hamburgers and hot. It's not
It's not a concession stand. Yeah, exactly. We use a lot of local products. Obviously, we're in Brooklyn, and there's so many different artisanal products out there that we can kind of tap into.
I don't think people realize how unique it is to be able to serve alcohol at a movie theater.
Well, it wasn't allowed in New York. That was the first roadblock I ran into when developing this. digging around, and I found an old Prohibition-era law on the books in New York State that basically came out and prohibited serving alcohol in a motion picture theater.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
From like
so
1920
yeah,
something.
exactly.
Right?
And so no one had really challenged it. So I was lucky enough to meet a lobbyist who thought we could change the law, and it took about 2 years of crafting the law and meeting with local lawmakers. But actually in 2011, fall of 2011, about 3 or 4 months after we opened, Governor Cuomo signed in the law. So we actually changed the law and have opened up that experience for New Yorkers.
In and of itself is amazing.
Yeah. Right.
People just come and hang out in the bar too?
Yeah, we kind of envision this downstairs street level bar as just a neighborhood spot. So we do a lot of events down here. We have screens, so we're able to screen a lot of local filmmaker shorts or films here in a more casual environment.
When a movie comes in, do you sit down and say, hey, here's this film, what can we do around this?
Yeah, we know the upcoming films, and then we just start kicking around ideas all week. It's my favorite part of the process because I get to taste good food all week and sort of get inspired by movies that we like.
So what do we have here?
Yeah, so we're opening the Bling Ring in honor and homage to Paris Hilton. We have a Paris Stilton Club sandwich, which is right here.
Amazing.
And then, of course, we had to do the Sophia wine in a can.
Oh, I love that.
Well, and that's the great thing about changing the law. You don't have to smuggle in booze to your local movie theater now.
I can't tell you how many times the beer bottle has
the beer
fallen out of my
bottles running down the slope of the movie theater. Yeah, exactly. We also are screening before midnight. So they take a trip to Greece. So we've got a lamb skewer here with some tzatziki sauce, and it's really, really delicious and light. And we paired that with a Grecian wine. Like generally people love, like when they're watching the movie, to order the specials. It's just a more immersive sort of experience.
This is really incredible, and it almost is like worth just coming, sitting at the bar, having like a beautiful drink and ordering the special, and not that you should forsake the movie, but you can come and eat as well.
Yeah, exactly. You can come and eat before or after the movie as well, or not see a movie at all.
I'm such a fan, and I'm just so wildly impressed by all the thought and care and really sort of sophistication that goes into this whole operation. I can only wish you the best of luck with it, and congratulations on all the success and continued success, and I'm just ridiculously impressed by you and this operation, and
Thanks.
I cannot recommend it enough, right? So it's Nighthawk Cinema in Williamsburg. The website is Nighthawk, but it's N-I-T-E Hawk Cinema, right?
Yeah, a little twist on the spelling.
Well, thank you, Matthew, so much for having us down.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for coming in.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
So if you're in the neighborhood, definitely check out Nighthawk. I can't recommend it high enough. Next up, we're going to move just a little bit further over here into Williamsburg. It's a bowling alley called The Gutter, and it's super cool, and it's, well, you'll find out. Okay, so we are back in BK, and by far one of the coolest places in Williamsburg. It is a bowling alley and a bar called The Gutter, and that doesn't even begin to describe it. So with me today is the general manager of The Gutter, Joanna, and she's going to tell us all about this incredible place. Thanks so much for having us down today.
Yeah, no problem.
So here we are. Like I said, it's a bowling alley, it's a bar, there's performances. Tell us a little bit about how this came about.
Well, it was originally opened 6 years ago by the two guys who opened Barcade.
Okay.
And over the years, they've gone further into Barcade world and left The Gutter for the owner and me.
Fun.
Yeah.
And I noticed that, it's got a really great style to it. Who was sort of responsible for like the sort of cool vibe of it all?
Definitely Paul and John. They really wanted it to look sort of like your grandpa's basement. He's a Jersey and Pennsylvania guys, so it kind of reflects everything they grew up with.
One of the things that we should note is that the bowling alley is vintage and it's really authentic, and it comes from Iowa. And was it just sort of like lifted and sort of brought here?
Yeah. It was I think it was a 30-lane alley, and they just picked out 8 lanes and brought them over here. And they're all original wood lanes, which you don't get that much anymore of. Yeah, they just popped them over here, built a level floor, and put them in.
And what would you say is like the biggest difference between like bowling here at the Gutter and say like at your regular run-of-the-mill bowling alley?
I noticed that we slide a bit more.
I like that. Because I'm not really a regular bowler, and I was traumatized as a child by my mother bowling. It's a long story. But it seems like it's got a really cool vibe. What kind of people does it really draw in?
We get everybody. Everybody comes in here. It's great. We have our regulars. We have league.
Oh, so you do have a league?
Yeah, we have a league all week. Regular people from Manhattan, from Queens, from Brooklyn. No families, but everyone else. Everyone 21 and over is welcome.
But you also, we should note that you have performances here as well.
Yeah, we have a spare room in the back. It was just empty for a little while, so we figured, oh, we'll just throw some bands back there. People are starting to notice it a bit more.
And who curates the performance part? Is it sort of catch as catch can, or do people come and pitch you on that? Or?
We have a few guys that book shows, and we've got one guy who runs the whole thing.
So you're here a lot, I take it, since you're the GM. What do you think it is about bowling that is everlasting? I mean, you know, it's a sport, and it is a sport that is across all sort of socioeconomic barriers, everything, and everybody bowls, and has bowled for decades.
Well, I think it's just the act of throwing something heavy as hard as you can and watching things explode at the end.
I love that.
Everyone loves that.
You don't have to bowl. I've actually been
No.
here several times, and I've never bowled here yet. So you don't really have to bowl to come here and have a good time. I mean, you've got this beautiful bar. Tell us a little bit about the bar side of it as well.
Well, that's what we like to think of ourselves as, a bar that has a bowling alley. And the bar it has 12 draft taps, no bottles, and mostly American craft brews, small breweries. We do have Guinness, though. It's the barcade mentality of just keeping it craft and small, and mostly Eastern breweries.
And do you ever like sneak in here with your friends after hours and do some late night bowling?
After hour bowling clubs, yeah, totally.
That sounds awesome. That's what I want to do. So it seems like, you know, there's some kind of something. There's music, there's performances, there's a bar, there's a bowling alley, obviously a pool table. There's sort of something for everybody except children. Anything else you think like, hey, you know what, we're going to jam this in there too?
Well, we've got a bowling machine out there, one of those
A
shuffleboard.
tabletop? Oh, those are my favorite.
We haven't fixed it up yet, but we do have the bubble hockey.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
that is about to get revamped, and people love that thing.
When I was sort of digging around about the Gutter online and stuff, I have to say there was an overwhelmingly positive response to the experience here.
We like to, you know, we all have fun. We all love working here, and we love the customers that come in here. It's easy to have a good time, and it's just relaxing, and yeah, it's fun.
And what would you say is like your goal for your clients and your customers to take away with them?
I guess just to have a great time, you know? It's like an adult Chuck E. Cheese. Everyone just comes and goes crazy, and as long as everyone's okay, you know,
Well,
doesn't throw balls at the windows, we're fine. It's fun.
Well, that sounds like an amazing time to me. That's exactly what I want when I go out, is just sort of a range of things where I can sort of run around and be crazy. And I want to thank you for letting us sort of chit-chat with you today, and thanks so much.
No problem.
Okay, anybody who knows me well knows that I have a terrible sweet tooth. So you can only imagine, when I had the opportunity to go and work with a donut maker, I jumped at the chance. So next up is a super, super cool donut shop in sort of the East Williamsburg, Bushwick district of Brooklyn. It's called Dun-Well, and that doesn't even begin to describe it. So check it out. Okay, so today we are continuing our exploration of the outer borough known as Brooklyn. And in our constant quest to find the coolest things to do in Brooklyn, we came across what is known as Dun-Well Doughnuts here on Montrose Avenue in Brooklyn. And with me today, To explain why these donuts are so unique and so wonderful is one of the co-founders and co-owners of Dun-Well, Christopher Hollowell, the Well in Dun-Well. Thank you so much for having us in your kitchen. As I said, I am so excited. A, I love donuts, and B, I love baking.
Well, that's great. This is the place to be for that.
Tell us what's special about Dun-Well Doughnuts.
Well, they're gourmet. We use all organic and natural ingredients. They happen to have absolutely no animal products, making them completely 100% vegan.
Now there's the key word, vegan.
If you see in the front of our shop, we don't market them as vegan donuts. I mean, they are. We just try to put them out there as like really good donuts.
And what do you think adds to the sort of ability to make them so good?
I mean, probably time. Dan and I, we worked on the recipe. It was all completely from scratch. It took around 8 months. We make every single donut in-house, Dan and I do. We finally have hired a few more bakers, but we still have our hands in every single thing that goes to those 2 donuts.
You have a partner, Dan.
Yep.
And how did you guys decide, like, you know what, we're gonna start a donut shop?
Him and I had always wanted to start something together, especially some of the vegans. We're both vegan. And I was watching The Simpsons 20th anniversary special. This whole thing on Homer Simpson and donuts. And I just got this craving. I was like, oh, well, I'm in New York. There has to be vegan donuts somewhere. And I went around. There was absolutely no place with them. I was like, oh, that's it.
Vegan donuts.
That's the thing. We could start a business.
Has Girls shot an episode in here yet?
No, not in here, but we're always willing. Come on, Lee and
Yeah,
Doug.
they're gonna follow. They follow whatever I do, so you know. And what would you say is like one of the single most important things in making your particular donuts?
And you know, a little love, little care. Most importantly, is just using proper ingredients, and we don't compromise when it comes to that. Well, do you want to put on an apron,
Yeah.
do a little with me, and then we can go look at the rest of the store?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you thought about expanding outside of donuts?
No, you know, we
Stick to core mission.
Well, we read an article early on that said, to be big, think small. You got it. You can feel you can describe it.
Feels good. What is your least favorite part of all of this?
The business side.
Yeah?
You know, you just want to be able to
Sit in the kitchen and make donuts?
make donuts and be the happy donut.
The galloping gourmet?
You know, I want to be Barnaby from Hello Dolly.
Good Lord, I love that reference.
Like, I just want to be, put on your Sunday clothes and...
Wow, that's really good. You just took our gay television network to a whole new gay level.
You don't
Thank
know.
you. So now they are in the oven. Now what happens?
So they're gonna rise for about an hour, and then
An hour?
yeah.
That's how long it takes?
Well, they have to rise. The whole process takes an insane amount of time. And then then we'll throw them through the fryer, and then we'll frost them or glaze them, depending on.
Oh, fantastic.
When I go outside, we can have a coffee.
Yes.
Katie makes a great espresso.
I love espresso.
Yeah.
Okay, let's espresso ourselves. We should mention that you rode your bicycle across the country.
Twice, once around the world.
And what was that like, and why did you decide to do that?
It was Dan and I again. I was in the Peace Corps in Africa, and it was so hot, and I saw this picture of Siberia. I distinctly remember I biked into the city, and I got on this, headset and Skyped him, and I called him and I said, hey, I want to bike around the world and stop in Siberia. And he was like, all right, let's do it.
what do we have in front of us? Besides this amazing coffee, which I don't even understand what it is, but it is heaven in a glass.
Yeah, I'm glad. And then we just have I'm good with just
Plain.
simple stuff. Chocolate with peanuts and a snickerdoodle.
Oh, awesome. All right.
Unless you're I hope you're not allergic to peanuts.
No. Amazing.
Thank you.
All right. Amazing. Well, I cannot thank you enough for taking time out of your busy day to sit and chat with me. And the shop is Dun-Well Doughnuts. It's just off the Montreux stop of the L train. It is well worth the trip out here, I promise you. Thank you, Christopher, so much for everything and the delicious donuts and the amazing coffee and really just an incredible experience.
You're welcome back anytime.
All right.
Bring friends.
I will.
Yum, donuts. Next up, we go to the Park Slope district of Brooklyn. And you know, this is one of the reasons why I love doing this, because I get to discover things that I would never have known about. So take a look at this. It's the Bergen Street Comics, and it is so much more than just comics.
In case you're not familiar with BK, also known as Brooklyn, the borough is divided into many different parts, primarily north and south. Today we are in Park Slope, which is one of my all-time favorite parts of the borough, and we are at an amazingly cool store called Bergen Street Comics with one of the owners, Tucker Stone, who's going to tell us all about the world of comics. Thank you so much for having us over today.
Thanks for coming, Josh.
Well, how did you get involved with this particular store?
I met Tom, my business partner here, because I could tell when I came in here that this wasn't like the stores that I had grown up with. That we didn't have a lot of like old comics, and like it wasn't like based around nostalgia. It was based around a lot of like new independent things. It was based around artists that own their own work. It was based around things that weren't necessarily superhero and genre based. And so I interviewed him, and when I was transcribing the interview, he said in there that the next thing I have to do is I have to find somebody. And so before I posted the interview and published it, I was like, well, maybe that somebody should be me.
Oh.
You know?
As I grew up, I realized, my God, there is this whole world of people who are devoted to comics, not just superheroes, but like the whole crazy. How does it sort of divide out? And what do you think the reason we stick with comics from the time we're kids all the way through our sort of late years?
It used to be just that like you could get on board with like a superhero comic and then just follow, like the way people would follow a soap opera. So it's constant, like really like throat-caught tragedy all the time.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then you go through that
Simple
for years.
formula.
Yeah, it's all tortured stuff. It's all like, we can't be together because if I touch you, then I'm gonna kill you, that kind of thing.
I can't
like,
look at you because you'll burn to death.
exactly.
Amazing.
And that goes on for a long, long time. But then eventually people are like, well, I want to do something different. I want to do a comic about food. And so that started to work out. And then it was like, well, I want to do a comic about what it was like for me growing up. And so memoir comics started to take off. And so now there's just all kinds of different things, so people can have whatever they want.
You know, I have one question for you. What the sort of direct correlation is between particularly like superhero comics and sort of gay men?
I mean, I don't want to make fun of anybody who likes superhero comics and gets uncomfortable with that kind of talk, but I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. When you look at like a superhero comic, there's superhero comics like there aren't any women in them.
Right.
And when there are women in them, they're usually like girlfriends that you leave at home, so you
Right.
can go dress up in a costume and fight other men or play with other men or go hang out with other men. Like that's every superhero comic.
Yeah.
Like there's some exceptions, but they're very, very few exceptions. And I think at some point you just have to kind of go like, well, that's what this is.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point because the women, the really strong women in the comics are like Catwoman, who become sort of like gay icons anyway, so.
Something that we just did recently is, this is Becky Cloonan, self-published comics. She's the first woman to have ever drawn Batman in the main Batman comic.
Oh, wow.
Like, and that's Batman's been around for 75 years, so you can see how sometimes superhero comics, it takes a while to catch up. The other thing that Becky does, which she's won a lot of awards for, is she writes and draws her own comics that she then prints copies of herself. And these are just 3 of them. We just recently had her out here because she's doing a comic with Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance. She's drawing the art for that.
Wow.
And so this is one that she just brought to us, and then we just sell them by hand to people. And then she just goes to a printer. There's no company involved. She owns this, copyrights and everything. So if you want to make a movie, you want to do a TV show out of all these characters, like you got to go to her. You got to pay her. There's no company involved. And then this is a comic that we actually just started publishing up here. This is Copra. Copra is a monthly comic written, drawn, colored by a local artist who actually works with us part-time. He kind of came to me and he said, you know, I've kind of got to the point where this is too successful and I can't keep printing and keeping it in my apartment. And we were like, well, we love this comic, so we'll make this comic. Aquaman Comics a few years ago decided that the best way to do an Aquaman comic was to just embrace the fact that everybody makes fun of Aquaman because he lives underwater and talks to fish.
Right.
But he's also like a beautiful blonde man, so they finally embraced that too. So like sometimes he models in the comic, and that's how he makes money when he's not underwater talking to fish.
He models.
He models. The dirty little secret a lot of these comics is you have to make them really, really quickly. So sometimes there's supervision, and sometimes we've got 2 weeks, just get it done. And that's when you end up with an idea like, let's just have him be a male model.
He'll be a model.
Yeah, he'll be a male model.
This is kind of a little special area because a lot of it, you said, are sort of not necessarily one-offs, but people who are either self-publishing, and some of them are actually local, which I thought was astonishing.
Hungry Bottom Comics, while you're Hungry Bottom, Two Fags, Too Furious. Obviously there's some interest there. This is a guy who just walked in here. He's a Canadian cartoonist. He just came in here and he dropped these off and then he left. And he left a little post and said, if you're interested, let me know. And so we write him back and he ended up mailing. These are what we call risograph printing, but you can see how it's basically just one color and like really incredibly nice stock, but then it still only sells for $5. And you can basically, when you have this kind of like supervision over your own content, you can do whatever you want.
Well, I cannot thank you enough, and I can't wait to bring all my friends down here.
I really hope
What
you
a
do.
great find. This is why I love doing the show, because how else would I have found this place? So thank you so much, Tucker, for having us in and showing us around the beautiful store. And remember, it is the Bergen Street Comics, right here on Bergen Street in Park Slope. So you can go to their website to find it, or just wander down Bergen right off Atlantic, and you will stumble upon this beautiful store. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for coming out, Josh.
So there you have it, Brooklyn. What an amazing day it's been. So I highly encourage you to come out to Brooklyn and check out the city because it's got so much to offer. And like me, you'll find things that you never knew even existed. Museums, parks, zoos, an amazing cultural center. So come on down, check it out. I promise you won't be sorry. But that about does it for us. So thanks for watching. And remember, if you want to write me and let me know how you feel about this show or anything else we've done, you can always contact me at justjosh@heretv.com. That's justjosh@heretv.com. And thanks for watching. And as always, we'll see you again next time.